Hi, this is David for MADTechUK, sorting the good from the mad. Today we're going to do an Amazon Fire TV comparison. We're going to do a review of the Fire TV box, a review of the Fire TV stick, and see how they fare up together. So let's start by taking a look at the boxes. So the Fire TV box, let's have a little look around, see what we've got. There's a few specifications on the side. You can see some of the shows and things that you can get. It's quite a nicely presented box, nice little raised buttons on the side just to give the box a bit of texture. And on the side, we'll be showing the full specifications later, but just to give a taster, this is a full 1080p box. You've got batteries included for the remote, you've got a power adapter, you have to supply your own HDMI cable, there we can see. And on the stick, let's have a quick look. We've got a few basic specifications on the back. It's a dual core, dual band Wi-Fi, same as the main box. The main box though has a quad core processor. Again, we've got 1080p, remote control, USB cable included, and a HDMI extender, so that's pretty useful if you've got a poor access to the HDMI port on the back of your TV. So that's those. So let's get unboxing. So we'll start with the Fire TV box. Get the knife in there, just unbox that one. Nicely presented box, pretty good. So first time we're opening this, we've got a little tear off tab here just to take away. We'll get rid of that. Let's have a look inside. So it's nice consistent colour scheme throughout the box. Nicely presented, very much like when you unbox an Apple TV. Everything's pretty much, the box is as big as it needs to be here. So there's the main unit. What do we got on the back? We've got a USB port, network, optical, HDMI and power. Inside the box we've got the usual user manual, warranty. Tells us what we should have in here. Tucked away in the back there we've got the remote control, nicely presented. And at the back, power supply and some batteries for the remote, always a nice inclusion. We'll have a rummage around, see if there's anything else in there. I think that's it. Yep, that's everything. So the only thing we need to bring to the table here really is our HDMI lead. So that's a nice solid little unit. It'll pick up fingerprints easily on the glossy edge, but we're not really going to be touching this. You know, it's going to go under your TV, it's going to go by a monitor, wherever you want to put it. It's got a nice rubberized base feel there. Now let's check out the remote control. So quite a nice feel to the remote control, sort of rubberized feel to it. Pretty tactile. It's going to pick up the fingerprints pretty easily though. Doesn't at first, but you've got the glossy buttons there. You're probably going to see fingerprints after a while. Not too big, not too small, just about right. So the back comes away quite easily. We'll chuck the batteries in, get ready for setup. Pretty nice weight to that remote. Just right. Buttons are a little bit clicky on there. Not quite as premium feeling as the remote you tend to get with an Apple TV, but yeah, not too bad, not too bad. You can see on the back now it's already starting to pick up a few fingerprints there. But they do wipe off pretty easily. So the same look and appearance as the main box itself has even been copied across to the power supply here. We've got this nice glossy edge to it. Very tactile, nice and smooth. Quite a sort of premium feel, just to even just to that plug socket. So that's pretty good. So we'll get this unwrapped. That's all the main components. So what we'll do is get that all connected up and we'll fire it up and see what happens. So here we are, we've got it all plugged in, switched on. First thing it does, search for the remote control. Now the remote control's already got batteries in, thought it would have picked it up straight away. Still seems to be searching. In the instructions it looks like we've got to hold down the home button to force the box to recognise the remote control. So we'll give that a shot. And it should pick it up and then begin the installation process. Perfect, there we go. So press play to start. We'll go through the installation process. So we're going to choose English. Connect up to the network. We'll skip through some of this. You don't need to see all the setup just here, but it obviously guides you through. There we are, brilliant. So we'll go through registration. We're going to set up a clean account here. We'll set up a MADTechUK account. Great thing here is registration gives us a free 30 days of Amazon Prime, so we can try out the video facilities, see what we can stream, just get an idea of how the product's working. So there we go, successfully registered.
Hello and welcome to your new Amazon Fire TV.
Then we get a nice load of video intro for us.
So we're going to take a quick tour together that will teach you.
We'll skip through this. So it's a nice way to get started with the system. Gives you this nice sort of helpful intro video. Having used Apple TVs, for example, in the past, the obvious comparison here, along with Google Chromecast, neither of those have given a little introduction video on how to use the system. So nice sort of friendly intro. Good for beginners on these kind of products. I think for the advanced user, you'll probably just skip past this if you know what it is you're using here. So there we go. Let's confirm our 30-day trial. We'll get Amazon Prime. Now it's quite nice, there's some kids protection built in, so we can set PIN codes if we need to. And here we are at the welcome menu. So on the home menu you can see a few of the menu options, Prime Video, Movies, TV, Watch List, Video Library. So let's try the search feature. Find action films. Got me first time. Not the latest action films I'd be expecting, but nonetheless it has found a few action films there. Yeah, I think this search could do with a little bit of refinement there, but not bad. Not quite sure the Smurfs class is as an action film. So let's have a look at some of the video features here. So we've got videos, we've got the Prime Video, we've got the movies. Now we've got access here because we've got our 30-day Prime trial. So I'm going to have a scroll through and pick something that we can just see that sort of quality that's coming up on screen here. So we've got the Wolverine, we'll give that a quick try. So we hit watch now. Now that's really good, that's almost instant that that's appeared on screen. There was no latency there at all. Now, I've used a few other providers for these sort of boxes and you've usually got some buffering time there. That was very, very quick. I'm skipping through here a little bit, and it's almost instantaneous response. That's really, really good. We've gone about 20-30 seconds into the film. No buffering at all there. That's fantastic. Full HD quality. It's coming out really nicely on the screen. We've set up the sound just to go through the HDMI for this. So if you want, you've obviously got the optical connection on the back. If you've got your surround sound system, that's a perfect way to connect. Or if you use an AV receiver and you can do audio over HDMI, again, all perfect, good connections. So we'll try another film. We'll try Pacific Rim, just see how quickly that responds. Again, fantastic. That's nearly instantaneous. Really is good for just bringing something up straight away on demand without buffering. And again, the quality's really good. We're getting full HD streaming. We're using a fibre optic broadband connection here, so we've got about 40 meg download speed. So yeah, that's really good. Very pleased with that. We'll skip through a little bit. Again, response is nearly instantaneous there as we skip through a few minutes into the video. Superb quality. We'd be really happy to have that in the lounge at that point. Very, very good. The response times here are very, very good. I mean, I've just been skipping through a little bit there. There's no latency, as I've said. I'm very happy with that. So let's scroll through. So we've got TV options as well. I mean, this is much of the same, obviously, same as with the movies. We can go through TV box sets on the Prime service. So things like the recommended list, that's all going to learn as you go. The more shows you watch, the more it's going to learn and suggest relevant programs for you. So we've got nothing in our video library because we haven't purchased anything, but we can go into the game service. So first time in here, we've got to choose a nickname. It's already given us a default one, so we'll choose that. And we'll just go and choose a crazy little avatar. I'm going to choose the crazy little green blob man. So most of the games we'll have to pay for if we want something pretty good, pretty high powered. You've got a few free ones on here, some of the basics. Quite tempted just to have a quick game of Tetris on there. So let's have a look at that one. So it asks us to install, so we'll do that, hit the download. And when it's ready, we can hit open. So we haven't got a game controller, but you can do the control here using the remote control that is supplied with the box. For some of the bigger games, we'd really recommend getting the game controller. So there we go, nice and responsive. Very simple game, but using the remote control, away we go, straight into Tetris. Great for the casual gamer. You know, if this is the kind of box you buy, you just want access to a few online films, TV shows, games. It's really good. Now let's have a look through the apps list, because this is where you can start to add a bit more functionality to the box. Things like Air Receiver may be a useful inclusion if you're using things like an iPhone and you want to use AirPlay straight to the box. TuneIn, really quite handy if you want to get all the radio services. Plex is handy, of course, if you're using your own media server running Plex. So that's a nice way to access any local videos that you've got at home. Now, useful things, of course, iPlayer, Netflix, YouTube. I kind of expect things like iPlayer to be built in, but I suppose this, this is giving you the option to add it. A lot of smart TVs and so forth have this kind of functionality now. But if you're using a TV that's slightly older and you just want to upgrade it, quite a good inclusion to go and buy an Amazon Fire TV or the other products like the Apple TV, things like that are just what people are using these days to upgrade maybe slightly older TVs that don't include the smart features. So let's grab iPlayer from here and we'll do another quick quality check and see how that plays out over here. So we've downloaded it, running it now, so let's accept this. So we're into iPlayer. Now I want to see how quickly this responds, because we'll see the Amazon Prime service was nice and quick. How does this one go? A little bit of buffering. Some of that's probably down to BBC themselves and how quickly they can supply the media. You can do some quality setting adjustments. You've got parental guidance options. So I'm going to pump this up now. I'm going to go to best quality. I want to see it at its best now. So we've got it running in the background there. Let's go to the video quality. So that should be full HD quality. It looks very good. Yeah, very happy with that. Certainly the response times seem fine. There's no stuttering, there's no lag in that video at all. So now we can see we've got 2 apps in our library, what we've installed. Now we've not signed up to Prime Music, so obviously that's another offering from Amazon at this point. And if you want to share photos on here, you'll need to download the app onto the phone, onto your phone or equivalent device. So we'll have a quick look through some of the settings. So we can do display and sound changes, we've got screensaver options. Have a quick look. Rather usefully, we've got the parental controls. We would really expect that on these kind of units, obviously with the array of films that you can have access to instantly online. So you've got the option to add your Bluetooth game controllers and FireTV remotes. You can add more than one remote, but you can also add other Bluetooth devices such as Bluetooth headphones, keyboards and mice, so that's quite useful. One thing I note that we haven't seen on here is the inclusion of a web browser, for example. So that's where a keyboard, a USB keyboard, Bluetooth keyboard might come in quite handy if you had a web browser on it. But we haven't seen one unless you can get one as an app. So looking at system settings, options to sleep the system, instant resume. Resume's really fast there, so we've gone straight to sleep, straight resumed again. And we can see our network settings. Now there is an option if you use the USB port to develop your own applications and send them across to the system. And then all the usual options for things like restarting and reset factory defaults. You can run the help video again that came up at the start, and that's pretty much all the settings. So things that I'm straight away thinking, we haven't got a web browser on here, and a lot of smart TVs now are coming with web browsers built in. I'm going to have a look through some of the applications here. I'm not seeing anything leaping out as being a web browser for functionality. Some people may like that, some people may not. I'm getting a little bit techie here, but it'd be really good to include things like a Skype application, for example, and maybe have the ability to put a USB web camera on. The device doesn't support anything like that at the moment, so it would be something, great inclusion if they could do that. Now, there's a multitude of ways to browse through the applications available, the different channels available on here. They've grouped some of them under the apps list. You can go straight to like the top 10, for example. There's a little bit of repetition in there, so obviously some of the lists are, you're seeing them, repeat a few times. Things that really stand out though, very impressed with the response time. The remote is quick and responsive to cycle through the menu systems. That quad-core processor is obviously packing quite a punch inside the system. 2 gig of RAM in there as well. So really performing as you'd expect with those kind of specifications. Now the interesting thing will be here to see if the FireTV stick is as responsive, because that's got a dual-core processor and 1 gig of RAM built into it. Now one of the things that really impresses me here is the accuracy of the voice search. I'm just going to run a few examples in the background here. Every one of these came up first time, absolutely spot on. Now, something else I want to check is what functionality we can get from adding a USB stick into the device. I've loaded a movie on here in MP4 format, but cycling through to the movies option doesn't bring up the USB stick. So all you can actually use the USB for is to load apps onto for extra storage for the system. That's about it. It'd be really nice if the USB stick offered more functionality, if the system recognized it for music and video storage. It'd be great if you could just put your whole collection on there, but it's pretty much just for the apps. I thought I'd try and install VLC Player here just to see if that would actually pick up the USB stick, but it actually comes up with a purchase failure. Now again, this is slightly irritating because I'm presented with the app. I'm actually in the store for the Amazon TV, Fire TV, and I can't purchase it. It should actually not even show me that app if I'm not able to install it, so I find that a little bit strange. So it's kind of pointless because it's not applicable for this device. So if I go into the settings, go into the system settings and scroll down, I can see the USB storage and I can see how much space is on there. But I can't really do much else with it, so I can manage the installed applications, but that's about it. And then I can eject the USB stick from there, so not really good for any media, which is a shame. I'd have to use something like Plex and maybe run a media server on my PC. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. And again, as I was saying earlier, it would be great if that was a sort of multifunctional port, maybe for USB camera, that kind of thing. So let's unbox the Fire TV stick. Bit of a smaller box, smaller device. Nicely presented again. It's actually almost smaller than the remote control itself. Quite a solid little stick. Now the remote, the obvious difference with the remote here, bit smaller, bit lighter, doesn't have the voice control button. Yeah, so noticeably shorter against the main Fire TV box remote. So let's pop that out and see what it's like. First thing we notice is this has a lot sort of cheaper, more plastic feel to the device. It doesn't have that slightly rubberized, more premium feel of the bigger box, but there's quite a substantial price difference between the two. You're looking about sort of 70-80 quid for the main box, and the stick comes in more like about £35. So the interesting thing is, when we actually compare these, for half the money, are we actually going to be getting nearly the same functionality out of the stick? That's the interesting thing here. So the thing I've just pulled out here, the HDMI extender lead, this is handy. If the HDMI ports in the back of your TV are a little bit awkward to get to, maybe don't offer enough space for that USB stick, you're going to need this HDMI extender lead. Now I'm using a monitor here, and it's going to actually be very useful because the HDMI port on the back of the monitor is quite difficult to get to, so that extender stick is extender cable is absolutely perfect. Now we're going to need some power for the device. So we got the power, we get a power lead and the plug socket here. So the plug socket is comprised of two parts, slightly different to the main Amazon TV Fire box. And that just clips together. Now oddly enough, we actually seem to be missing the USB cable. So slight boo-boo there on Amazon's part. We're missing the USB cable, micro USB cable. For the review, we've got a spare one. We're going to use that. So let's hook that in, fire it up. One of the things I've noticed is actually to get the batteries into the back of the remote for this one is a lot stiffer than the slightly more premium model. Really requires a lot of force to be put on the remote to get those batteries out, whereas the more premium one just has a nice clip and the back pops straight off. So there we go, FireTV sticks firing up. So one of the nice things here is that the FireTV stick, you can't even see it. It's hidden behind the screen. You don't have to have the device on a shelf. You can just hang it off the back of a TV. So that's pretty useful. But you do lack the ports that its bigger brother has, in effect. The things like the optical port, the wired network port. So you are reliant on your wireless internet connection, and you are reliant on just audio over HDMI feeding in through your TV or monitor. So we'll hit the home button on the remote and we'll get this started. So same as the big box, we'll go through the same registration process, but we're going to use the Amazon account that we set up on the main box. So we'll skip through the installation procedure here. So it latched onto the network nice and fast, found both the 2.4 and 5 GHz frequencies that we're running here. No updates required, so we're obviously already up to date on this stick. And we'll put our login that we just created and get this one running. Super, so we've got the FireTV stick registered. Obviously we've got the account that we just set up on the big box. And we get our same little welcome chap again, we get a nice little introduction video. Slight irony with the introduction video is explaining how to set the stick up and how to plug it in. Of course you'd have had to have already done that in order to see this video. But we'll forgive them that one. Now one of the interesting things that the video points out here is although the remote that comes with the FireTV stick doesn't include voice control, you can download an app for your smartphone and you can use voice control directly from there. So we get the same menu control there. We've got the parental controls. Now going into the main menu system here, I see no real difference compared to the bigger box. This looks like we've got exactly the same menu system, so pretty much all the same functionality here. So we can go through the Prime Video service, we've got the movie service, so that's everything exactly as we saw before on the bigger box. The menu system's responding just as quickly. Video library, we've got our games, we've got our apps. Because I've connected with the same account, it knows that Tetris is one of the apps that I've used, so I can go straight back to it. Of course, the interesting limitation here is there's no ability to add more storage to the FireTV stick, unlike the FireTV box. So we would be a bit more limited on what we could download and use on the stick. I think if you go for much more complex games, things may struggle a bit here. You're obviously slightly more hardware limited. But we'll do a simple test with Tetris. It's a nice free game, we can just fire it up. So response times seem very similar. Obviously we're not using a super high powered game, but yep, there it is. We can have a little bit of casual play with this kind of game. Now one of the great things with the FireTV stick is maybe not just for your lounge, but if you're a traveller, for example, you're in a hotel, you've got a flat screen TV, you just want to hook this in and use it, great, you've got access to your service on the go. So let's have a look through some of the apps again. You've got exactly the same list available to you here as the bigger box. So far I'm not really seeing any difference between using the stick and using the more expensive box in terms of what's available. Next test, let's have a look at the movies again. So this will be a nice comparison. Let's see how responsive this is once we get a video playing. Perfect. We'll go back to the ones we watched before. Start with the Pacific Rim. Just a slight bit more latency. So there's a little bit of buffering having to go on here, so that's interesting. Great, it's actually obviously picked up where we left off with the previous box. Now the quality looks absolutely perfect, so that's full HD quality, nice and smooth, not dropping any frames. That looks very good. Quite happy with that display. That's actually very good. So for full HD video, the specifications of the FireTV stick seem very adequate to run the full HD video. That's absolutely perfect. As I say, one of the main differences here is obviously we don't have the voice control, but personally I don't tend to sit in the lounge and actually use that to talk to the TV. I'd probably have so many background sounds going on, it wouldn't recognise me anyway. If we go into the settings, we've got the same options for things like screensaver choices. The array of features in here really shows there's no difference between this and the main box other than physical hardware. Now one interesting thing here is when we go and look at the controllers and Bluetooth devices, we can add the game controller, we can add FireTV remotes, we can't add the other devices like the keyboards, mice and headsets. So that's an interesting difference between this and the main box. System menu, obviously here as well we won't have the USB device controls either. So just before we conclude, let's have a look at the two devices side by side. So unplugging the FireTV stick, we find it's very warm, a lot warmer than the FireTV box, but the FireTV box is bigger, so it's going to dissipate heat a lot more easily. If we put the two side by side, you can really see the size comparison difference. The FireTV stick is going to be great for portable travel use, maybe take it around your friend's house, plug it in, use your Prime subscription services to stream some movies. So we've unboxed and tested both the Amazon Fire TV and the Fire TV stick. And we've got two conclusions to make here. Should you buy either of these devices? How do they fare against the competitors? And if you do go for these, which of the two is best for you? So the first thing that struck me about both of these devices was their performance. They're both really well spec devices, and that really showed through as soon as we started using them. They were very responsive, high def video came through very quickly, very little latency, so that speaks well for these. The other thing in their favour that things like the Apple TV don't have yet is that they've got the application store on there. You can go and get apps, you can add some functionality. Few things were lacking. We didn't find a web browser, for example, something that might be a useful inclusion. There's possibly other apps that might be useful as well, but certainly some of the key players like TuneIn, Plex, the ability to add Air Receiver on there, they were all there. So that makes it a pretty well-rounded device, and obviously you've got things on the cover there advertised like Netflix and Spotify. So you're getting a lot of functionality for your streaming. I think given the performance, given the flexibility, given how quickly it could do voice recognition, for example, if that's something of interest to you, the result here is I'm going to say that you'd be mad to miss it. Especially if you've bought into the Amazon Fire world, you've maybe got the tablet. It's a great inclusion if you're doing that, and you already have the Amazon Prime service, for example. So there's a lot of options there for streaming. Now, given I've said that you'd be mad to miss it, Which of these two should you therefore choose? Now, that's going to come down to, really, are you a gamer or you're not into gaming? So if you're a gamer, definitely go for the Amazon Fire TV. It's got more power. You'll be able to play higher powered games on it. If you're not fussed about the gaming side and you want to save some money, go for the Fire TV Stick. Great, it's portable. You can put it on any TV you like, and you could put this maybe on a second TV in the house, and it's going to be a lot cheaper than buying the main Fire TV. My personal choice, I would probably have a separate games console, and I would save the money, and for £35 I would buy the Fire TV Stick. But if you do want a few games to play on here, and you're quite happy to go and buy the controller as well, for example, then Fire TV. So that's really the choice here. Gamer, not a gamer, want to save some money and keep it portable. Which one you choose? Both are a great choice. So I'm going to leave it there. I've been David for MADTechUK. Thanks for watching. Check back later for more reviews.